houses away from our house. Just a question about the buildings that are shown. Is that the actual design of the buildings, or is this sort of a placeholder with the generic modern building there? Is that what?
Thank you for starting with the design question.
So, as Mark has alluded to, we've been spending a lot of time thinking about the site plan and the master plan and where density makes sense on the site and how we can keep as much porosity as possible. So a lot of the site placement of the kind of architecture at the moment is to really kind of establish where buildings should be and what height they should be. And as we continue through this process over the next couple of years, we're going to keep on refining the actual architectural expression of each of those pieces.
So they won't look exactly like that?
Correct.
What would be the best case for something that would fit in with, the craftsman style buildings? Do you have any examples, anything you would point to as being a better fit?
You didn't raise your hand.
It's following up, but
Different question.
Yeah, I mean, we have spent a lot of time thinking about what is in the existing area at the moment and what we can draw from there. Obviously, these buildings are at different scale to some of the...
louder, please.
Yeah.
These buildings are at different scale than some of the existing single-family homes. So we're trying to think about what we can draw from the neighborhood, what we can bring into the architecture. It's going to be a continual design evolution over the next couple of years as we work through that.
The Chase building does a nice job.
So what we're going to do, so everyone has a chance. Raise your hand if you want to ask a question. We're going to give numbers, and then we'll come back to the numbers. Starting in the back, Dave, you'll be number one. Yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I think I met you guys. I think you were like 2 and 3.
And you got to remember your number.
If I didn't get you, 21. Anyone else? 22.
And please remember on your name.
You can just give your first name.
23.
And what street you live on?
Anyone else? 24, 25. Anyone else?
Let's revisit after 25.
26? 27?
All
right. Number 1.
Hi, my name is Justin. I live on Chapter. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the unit mix. There's a predominantly single-family neighborhood, and so it's hard for certain types of households to get in the neighborhood. So can you talk a little bit maybe about how you're thinking about the mix of studios, one-bedrooms, family units, you just offer it to more type of household types in the neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, chime in on the mix. So there is a mix of studios, 1s and 2 bedrooms, kind of the predominance of the units. There may be some 3 bedrooms in there, but it is primarily studios, 1s and 2s. The percentages, I think the largest percentage is of 2s, and then there's a mix of 1s and studios. Do you remember exactly how we allocated those?
That's about right. I think we're maybe 40% 2s. But the idea is, 2 bedrooms allow a family to be there.
This will continue to evolve. I mean, the actual delivery of this project, it says 4 to 5 years out. The market is going to evolve during that time, and what else comes on the market. But that's what we have identified so far. The average unit size, I think, is about 750 to 800 square feet when you take that mix of studios, 1s and 2s. And it's intentional to kind of have a range, and there will be a broader range than that, and even in the 1s, there's a variety of sizes in the 2s. Because there's a desire to have a mix of also some fairly small units, which make it more affordable, frankly. That can be accessible to a broader range of the population, and then there will be some larger units that would be at a higher price. So we want to have kind of a diverse range of unit types and pricing and type of apartment. It's 550 units. We want to really address a very broad spectrum of the population and the market.
Number 2.
Yeah, I'm Clara. I'm on Solomon Street, and these are going to be rentals, not condominiums.
Yeah, it's unclear. It really depends on what.
Questions on the rental.
It's rental. Yeah. If I forget to repeat the questions, please ask me. The question is rental or condominium. We don't know. I mean, probably rental, but so much depends on what the market is at the time. what the financing market is like, what the rental and condo. It may be a mix, we don't know. We primarily do apartments now. We used to do condominiums. In the past 8 years, we've just done apartments. That's kind of our comfort zone, but number 3?
Yeah, number 3. First of all, I think this is a really good sales pitch you've got there. Very good marketing.
Who are you?
My name is Ken, and I live on Sony Street as well. So my question is, do you really expect to get approval for this 19-story building? And if so, how low are you willing to go?
Well, we do. I mean, this is a kind of a once-in-a-generation site. It's a 4-acre site right by bars that's on the hill. I mean, it's a wonderful site for density and a wonderful site for kind of this whole package. We believe this is a great use for the site. We're going to give it our all. We'll see. There's a lot of voices that are going to be heard, but this is, we've studied this a long time with a lot of great minds, and we feel good about this. Number 4.
Hi, I'm John. I live over on 50th, and I'm looking at the Clifton. This is a design question. I'm looking at the Clifton Lawn. And I don't see a place for the Jim Jennings Design Sculpture Studio, which, if I remember correctly, is an award-winning building. And I think it would work quite nicely with an art salon.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, we're not planning to save it. We're not, it's not in the right spot, and it would mess everything up.
Well, I think just to chime in on that, a lot of folks have talked and advocated for that, and said if there are ways to include it, including our architect friends here that are been joining the team. Part of the problem is that building, as cool looking as it is not very friendly to the street. And we're trying to create this wonderful pedestrian environment to bring people in and activate Clifton Street. And that building just honestly does not lend itself to that. It's a real problem, unfortunately.
Was that 5, 6?
Now we're on to 5.
Now we're on to 5.
Number 5?
Brian Heller, I live on Thomas Avenue as well. Have you done any economic impact studies to the College Avenue shops and what kind of tax revenue would be generated from bringing those in?
We haven't, but I imagine it'd be pretty good. Oh, have we done an economic impact study on how this would benefit College Avenue shops? And the answer is no, we haven't, but I would imagine that you have a lot of new customers who are going to be walking to and fro on College every day. I would think it'd be good, but no, we haven't done that. Good idea. Number 6.
Yeah, I'm Rhonda, I live on Ocean View, and it's very exciting. Rhonda on Ocean View, and it's very exciting, and I walk past there every day, so I'm looking forward to being able to go in there and enjoy it. My question, actually, because I'm hoping my kids someday can afford to live in the neighborhood, and so my question was already asked about the mix of different sizes.
I likes walking by, looking forward to kids being there, interested in a mix of sizes to accommodate more people. Number, that's 7.
I'm Mary, I'm on Coronado Avenue. I'm an architect, and I'm really puzzled about something. This is a technical architecture question. So a year ago, you made a presentation, and unless my memory is really failing, which it could be, you guys had a surrounding ring of 6 to 8-story building, and about the same number of units as you have now. And now you have the same ring, but you also have a 19-story building. What goes in all that extra space?
Well, we did have the ring, and we estimated 500 to 600 units, which is where we're at. But we hadn't figured out heights yet. There were some questions about what do you think heights would be like. We were just speculating.
When you said 5 to 8 then, and it's still 5 to 8.
It was very conceptual at that point, and we had not gotten to the phase of the architecture of actually figuring out how tall the buildings are and how many units are in there. We thought it would be around 500 to 600, which turns out it was, but we hadn't gotten that far.
Just to comment on that, because I was at those presentations, and I remember that they were saying, well, it's going to be a trade-off. We can have more buildings that will be lower, but there'll be more of them, or we can have 1 or 2 buildings that will be taller, and then we'll have more open space. And that was the trade-off that was presented.
The plan was, you're right, this was kind of where the buildings were laid out. We stuck with that, but we hadn't advanced the design that far.
Do you have floor plans?
We do have preliminary floor plans, yeah, that sort of,
next time?
sure, that just sort of lay out. I'm sorry, was that 8 or 7?
Yeah, 8.
8.
Could you point out what are existing buildings that would remain and which buildings are being destroyed? I'm Bill from Ivanhoe.
Maybe Marcia, do you want to repeat the question? Okay. So, well, the buildings that are remaining are these 3, the Carriage House, Mackey Hall, or Treadwell Mansion, and then the Facilities Building, and the stairs. And the buildings that don't remain are the other ones, right? And there's a Bruce building there.
Do you have a aerial view of the...
We'll go back to the first site plan. The first diagram of the 3 big ideas shows the existing building footprint. Way back.
Way back.
Oh, no, keep going.
Okay, further.
I think it's over. There you go.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
a
so
little hard to
these,
read, but...
so this is the facilities, but these 4 buildings would go, this is that Brutalist one we looked at. Jim Jennings is there. This is a welding studio. This is kind of a commons right
And
here.
administrative. Yeah. And then
Carriage house.
the carriage house is there. You can show where it is existing.
Yeah, the carriage house is right here. So we're taking the carriage house and moving it there. That's Mackey. These are the most significant buildings that we're preserving to try to create this precinct.
And the dorm space.
The dorm, yeah, the dorm stays, but then they don't have kitchens and they're shared bathrooms, so it's kind of like a gut job, but it's going to look the same from the outside.
And parking lots, so.
Yeah, the parking lot's fine. I mean, it's not very friendly to the street, as John was talking about. You know, the Jim Jennings building is kind of like a wall, and then it's a parking lot, and then it's a bunch of just overgrown trees there. So the idea really is opening this up and bringing people in and having people engage with it. And we believe it's going to be a wonderful asset for the community. Number 9.
I'm Tricia. I'm on Hilltop Crescent up Broadway Terrace. I have a question about Clifton relating to the garages and the traffic. Part 1 of the question is where will the parking be? I guess it's underground in some of these buildings. And then will there be a traffic light on Broadway and Clifton put in?
I'll show you where the parking is first. Sorry. Too many slides.
You had that diagram that towards the end where it shows the circulation.
Oh, right. That's why we have 6 mines here.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. So this is basically, this whole thing is a very efficient 5-story above-grade parking garage. You don't see any of it. It's wrapped in the arts use and the residential use. But this is a quarry, as a lot of you probably know, and so you can't really go down. It's great expense. And so we are going above and basically just, it's a really efficient 5-story garage there. In terms of a light, that's going to be what the transportation study shows.
Because if all those people are coming out of Clifton, it's going to create a terrible bottleneck for people turning right on Broadway Terrace.
And it's only 10 cars long. Yep. And it's 5 cars at the end.
One thing that the transportation consultants did tell us is that we weren't going to have a queuing problem here, that it's far enough away, particularly from Broadway, that people turning right in. So people coming out here are going to turn right, possibly.
What if they want to go downtown?
They're going to have to go there and then work around.
And then you're
Have you tried to do that?
I think it's large. This is all going to be studied as part of the transportation study. This is the consultant who's worked a bunch in the neighborhood said, these are the things that could actually make a difference and make the traffic better. And right turn only is a big one.
Right, are these the traffic people that did Broadway?
I don't know which part of Broadway.
right there.
Where in Pierce is who's done
Yeah.
Is this Farron Pierce?
Yeah.
It's Farron Pierce, okay, same people.
Number 10.
Hi, I'm Alessandra. I live 2 blocks away on Desmond Street. So the benefit of density and height is that you get more open space and other, hopefully, community benefits. So I was hoping you could speak to what that other, or that full package of community benefits is.
Yeah, that's,
Potentially.
it's the acre and a half of the community, of the public space, day and night. It's the affordable artist housing, and it's affordable artist space. It's the promenade up there, it's the historic building, it's the historic overlook. There'll be meeting space that people can use in this building and probably that building. We're trying to make this a real community asset. And so it's much broader than just your typical residential development that just provides X number of affordable units. Thanks. 11?
I'm Sarah. I live on Broadway, 2 doors up from Blick, so literally across the street from here. And my question is also about the density. You talked a little bit about supply and demand and the need for this level of density. And I think it's my understanding that there's a shortage of a particular type of housing in Oakland, but there's no shortage of, high-rent buildings like the one that was just built at 51st and Broadway, where they still haven't filled the units yet. There are lots of, 1 to 2 bedroom apartments that are catering towards the tech bros moving from San Francisco. So I'm wondering what sort of economic study you put into the need for this level of density right there, 12 minutes from BART, as you said, and whether or not you're really going to have the demand necessary to fill those.
It's a complicated discussion. There's lots of economists that have studied, but the short, my understanding of the short answer, and Cal studies this a lot, is the more units there are, just overall, that means the average price goes down. And if people are taking high-end units, that means the units that used to be the high-end units would be less expensive for other people. It's just, we witnessed it ourselves. In San Francisco, rents skyrocketed from 2011 to 2015, skyrocketed, and there's no construction during that period. From 15 to 18, more units were delivered than ever before, and rents actually dropped.
Have you looked at the rents around here? I don't think they've dropped that much, and the units have increased dramatically in the last 5 years.
What we'll see, there's a lot of units under construction right now, so I think we tune in a year, 2 years when they're actually there. There have been many, many economists that have studied this, and I think that supply and demand bears out that the more supply there is, the overall average rent is lower.
And at the time when, again, once this is approved and we're kind of getting close to the time when we start construction, we're going to be responding to what the market is at that time. And we're going to be looking, because we need to fill these units. We can't sit here with vacant units. So the focus is going to be how do we tailor that mix of units and the amenities and everything we're providing to really draw the demand that's in the market at that time. So that's going to continue to evolve.
912.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Patrick, Miles Avenue. I love what you're doing in terms of the grade. I think that's a really attractive feature for this particular development idea. I'm concerned about the canyon that you're creating with the housing. It seems like the canyon itself seems like to me like a real brutalist feature in terms of this lovely open space that you're going to have there. And I'm wondering from a design perspective, is it possible to take those buildings and terrace them at the top so that there's some opening up at the tops of the building so they don't seem to be overhanging that whole lovely space?
Kevin, you want to talk about the space while he's on it?
Sure. Kevin Conger, landscape architect of CMG. So these buildings are going to create an edge to that park for sure. They're going to be present. They're going to be part of the experience of that park, and it's going to be an urban park in that way with people looking down on it, and which will be great if you're living in one of these buildings and you can see people out in the park outside of you. We've done a lot of parks at this scale. It's about, I think, 179 feet across from here to here. We have the whole thing modeled in 3D where we can go in and see how it all feels in the scale of it. We've done a lot of projects exactly of this scale in the Bay Area, and it will feel great. It will feel great. It's definitely well-defined on three sides by buildings behind you, and this side that's going to orient it very much out toward the view toward Angel Island, like the renderings showed. But it's not like Mountain View Cemetery, which broad, open horizons. It's not going to be a park like that. It's an urban neighborhood park. It's about 1.5 acres or so.
Yeah, that's why I was suggesting, since you really do have these edges to it, that if you took the tops of the buildings and just kind of terraced back a little bit, it would take some of that edge off and add more light in there.
Right. And those
it would feel more open.
And those are adjustments for sure. I mean, as Strachan said, we don't really have architecture yet in terms of what the buildings are going to look like, but those will all be things that could be possible.
You can see on the plan, though, that even where the tall building comes down here, we have a podium feature around, and the buildings do set back. So at the height of Matty, which is around about a 5-story building, we kind of set back at those upper levels to give some of that terrace that you're suggesting.
And part of the idea is to landscape those levels, those terraces. I think if we went back to kind of the rendering from the street, we tried to build on the precedent that Oakland has of integrating landscape into the building to settle it more into the site and to provide that, emphasize that terracing. So that's certainly the intent, and we can develop it further.
13.
13.
You presented that lovely building by Lake Merritt as a rough equivalent in terms of height. And I just like to, that's obviously on a flat area, it's rising from a flat area,
Right.
and this is not.
Yeah.
So how many additional stories does that make an equivalent above Broadway?
Well,
The fact that it's up on a hill.
yeah, I don't know.
So would you say like maybe?
Go ahead.
So the corner of the site, this corner, is the low point. That's at 170 feet, and the high point at this end is at 215 feet relative to sea level. So there's quite a bit of grade across the site from those two extremes. The base of the taller portion is at 199.
So 199 is how many stories?
So basically, from the 170 to 199 is basically 29 feet. So 29 feet higher than the corner.
So 2-3 stories.
Right.
So when you're giving that equivalent, you might want to include that so that it's not deceptive.
Yeah.
But from above, it's actually shorter.